not claiming that we have the only way of innovation or the best way of innovation, but that works well for us. And we wanted to share it with you. And how did it work? We start with our mission. So our mission in Amazon to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. I wanted you to read the mission carefully. And during the session today, we will use the customer-centric approach a lot. Our mission is purposely broad. It's not focusing on a specific business, is not focusing on the e-commerce or the technology. It's not only considering a specific type of customer, be it small or medium or large. It's meant to be broadly focused on the customer. So the customer is in the center of our focus, and we work backwards from the customer need and for the customer pain, what the customer wanted to achieve. Be it a public sector or a private, be it enterprise or a small business, we put the customer in the center and in the focus of our attention. With this, we have different opportunities, or we could have different opportunities in place. As a tiebreaker to choose which opportunity that work well or to move with, we ask ourselves which of the opportunities that we have that will help the customer, that will really address the customer pain. If we have this in mind, that help us link to our mission to be Earth's most customer-centric company. While the mission is broad, it's also specific because it's laser focused on the customer. I'll be moving fast during the presentation, so I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. Stop me or ask any question anytime. I'd love to make it as much as possible interactive so you get the best out of the presentation. Moving on. So we start diving deep onto the culture of innovation. We start with the customer and working backwards. Having the customer in the focus, we ask ourselves, where is the customer frustration or the customer pain? How can we help the customer? And we work backwards from the customer need. So we use this to invent and surprise the customer and delight the customer with product and services that Amazon provide. It's not only being close to the customer and ask the customer what they want, but try to understand and dive deep of what exactly they want, why they want this, how it will help them, how this will address a pain or opportunity or help the customer to grow. With that in mind, there are different ways as well that we can look at it. Some companies look at the competition. Some companies look at inventing new technology, but some companies look at a business model and many other approaches or different approaches. At Amazon, we have chosen to put the customer or to have the customer and our approach as an obsessive customer. So we focus on the customer. We are customer obsessed on that sense. If we move forward and try to link what we talked about from the customer is in the focus of our attention, and we work backward from the customer, what is the customer need? If we look at the picture in front of us or the slide in front of us, we have multiple business and broad range of product and services that Amazon provide. And the top left corner, that's the Amazon e-commerce, focusing on the retail. I believe many of you could have already ordered or used the Amazon e-commerce. The next one on the right, the middle top, that's the AWS services. More than 200 plus services and products that AWS, Amazon Web Services, launched, leveraging the cloud, compute, storage, artificial intelligence, analytics, and many more. We have business also in the hardware or the devices like Kindle, like Alexa. We have the Amazon Studios for the content creation. We have the consumable for the groceries, and the bottom right is the Amazon Go. Amazon Go is a good example that I can dive deep with more details about it later during the presentation, but I wanted to share with you to support the focus and working backward from the customer. The entire business of the Amazon Go started by addressing one pain, where some of the customers asked the question, how can we get rid of the queues at the checkout and leave the store, leave the shop with what we purchased, with what we gathered? And for only this customer pain point, we worked it backward from this customer pain, and we came up with Amazon Go. Amazon Go have developed further, and we have now Just Walk Out implemented in so many places in the world, recently in the stadium. So some of the fans, they go to the stadium to watch the game. In the break, on a short time, they wanted to go to grab a coffee, to grab snack, and they don't want to spend long time, so they can go back to catch the game again. So it's another example of focusing on the pain. They just walk out, you go to grab your stuff, you scan your palm, you move back to where you have been in the stadium. So the slide in front of us, we call it the flying wheel. The flying wheel, or the growth flying wheel in Amazon, is an important concept. Why it's important? Because we focus on the pain, we focus on the customer need, we focus on the future as well. So with the flying wheel, we help the customer not to find the problem for the situation that we are in. So tomorrow, in a short while, the problem get fixed, but there is another problem, or the growth is limited. But we try to help the customer, and we innovate by looking at the future, how the situation will look like, how the customer can continue grow. So if we look at the picture started on the right hand and the slide, we start by the customer experience. Improving the customer experience will increase the traffic to our e-commerce website. And by increasing the traffic, we will have opportunity for more sellers to come and co-sell with us on the platform. By additional sellers, additional partners to work with us, we have a more selection. And with this, there is a wheel closed. So customer experience will increase, traffic will increase, sellers and partners will join us, and we will have more selection. And with the more selection, we achieve a scale of economy, or economy of scale, where we are able to lower the cost structure and lower the price. Why this is important? We need to continue innovate, and we continue grow in a scalable way. You will not find the customer to come and say, I love your e-commerce platform, Amazon, but I wish if there is a less number of items, or I wish if you can increase the price a bit. That will not happen. Customer is always intended to be looking for more. So with the growth flying wheel, or with the flying wheel, we are able to not only to innovate, but also to grow the business, to scale and consider the future. Similarly, in AWS, Amazon Web Services, we will not find a customer of us coming to say that I love AWS, but I wish if it's less secure. With the flying wheel, we are improving the security, we are increasing the number of services, we are increasing the number of features as well. Moving on, how do we organize ourselves to innovate? We organize ourselves to innovate through 4 different categories or elements: culture, mechanism, architecture, organization. We will dive deep into each one of these elements, and we will share with you and talk with you about each one. What does it mean, and how you implement or you learn from Amazon's culture of innovation. Going to the first element, it's related to our culture. So you need the people to operate your system or our systems of innovation according to unified beliefs. We all have the same beliefs, the same culture, and we think all together. And one mechanism that helps drive consistency is our culture. And we call it Amazon Leadership Principles. We have 16 leadership principles in Amazon. I will pause for a second, let you just have a look at them. We start with customer obsession. The rest of the leadership principles can come in any order, but our first leadership principle is customer obsession. Invent and simplify, learn and be curious. Every one of us in Amazon is living these leadership principles every day. We practice it every day. We use it every day in our meetings, in our discussions among ourselves as peers or with our managers. So this is something that helps us to think in the same way, to have a similar culture of thinking. You can see some of these leadership principles are contradicting. So one of them is bias for action on the left side, and on the right side, there is dive deep. Bias for action, you need to move fast, and dive deep, you need to go for more details. And it is meant to have this diversity. So it creates a level of balance between the different leadership principles. As I told you, we live these leadership principles every day. So the slide in front of you shows the leadership principles on the walls of our offices in different cities, different countries around the world. I picked few from the Middle East. So on the left top side, that's from Saudi office. On the right top side, it's from UAE Dubai office. The two on the bottom is from Bahrain office. So this is printed in front of us, and we get encouraged to practice it every day. One of our leadership principles is invent and simplify. Invent and simplify, if we focus a bit, it speaks about innovation. There are many ways that meaningful innovate with revolutionary ideas. You can also innovate not only by coming with revolutionary ideas, but also by simplifying an existing process, by simplifying an existing product or a service. And by this simplification, it gets it can be scaled across millions of our customers, and the added value and the value added to our customers in this case will be enormous. So invent and simplify speaks about the innovation directly. Example of the invent and simplify, willing to be misunderstood. So on the left hand side, this is the first version of the Kindle when it was released. We worked it backward from a customer pain. We wanted to produce a product, hardware, that allows the customer to have many books in their hand. They can dive into the reading, go through it, finish one book, and go through the other. You can tell by looking at the picture that it was not handy, the design was different, but it was still working backwards, focusing on the customer as the center. What was the objective of creating the Kindle? What are the features and the specification? But people misunderstood the product, the service, but they loved the idea, and we keep innovating. So by invent and simplify, we took the Kindle from the first version in the left-hand side to the version that you can see it in the right-hand side, changing the color, more comfortable colors, the font, the size of the handheld for the Kindle, the storage, the connectivity, etc., etc. Another example also that to be misunderstood, when we started AWS in 2006, a lot of the customers were just doubting why you don't focus on the e-commerce business. Why don't you go back to the retail? What do you understand in technology? Can you really create a CRM? Can you create different technology products? You should focus on your product and services from a retail perspective. We do believe that that we have built a strong, scalable, robust solution in Amazon Web Services in Amazon to support the business of the retail. And we thought with the flying wheel concept, the growth flying wheel, that we can really grow the business and help others to join us. Across the time, if you look at the bottom side of the slide, you will find in the number of services that was launched. For example, in 2018 itself, 1,957 features and services were launched on AWS, 2,345, 2019, and so on. We work and focus on the customer. We listen to the customer, we understand their pain, and we build our product and services. 90% of Amazon product and services are built based on a customer pain and a customer feedback on a customer need. And the other 10%, because we work closely with the customer, we live with them, we understand what they really need, we thought about adding an additional feature. So 90% of the product and services from the customer pain, from customer feedback, working backwards from the customer, and the 10% based on our experience working closely with the customer. Any questions? I'm keeping an eye on the chat. There's no question, but feel free, as I told you, to stop me or throw any question to the chat. Moving on, bias for action. Speed matters in business. So we need also one of our leadership principles is the bias for action. So many decisions and actions are reversible. What does it mean? We cannot or we should not look at every decision that we need to make as a one way. There are some decisions that we can reverse it, we continue. It's in the core of the agility, it's in the core of the innovation. If you wanted to innovate, you wanted to speed. So if there is a calculated risk and we are able to reverse the decision, we'll move on. And we accept to be mistaken. We accept to be wrong or misunderstood for a while. The door in front of you is presenting the one-way door. There is also two-way door. I'll give you two examples to simplify. If you are working within your group as part of the UAE Hackathon and you came across a decision that you wanted to make, will you add this feature X or you add feature Y? If you found that you can reverse the decision and you can change from feature X to feature Y, that's a one-way door. Move on, you can reverse the decision. Huge investment and building infrastructure as a site or a city, that's a huge investment. That's probably a one-way door. It's not reversible per se. It might take time, a lot of time to be reversed, and this is need more analysis and more study. This is to simplify the one-way, two-way door. With that, we covered the culture. We move to the next one, which talks about the mechanism. The mechanism are encoded behavior that facilitate innovation. So it is a kind of a process in place. Doesn't count only in the good intention for the customers, for the team, sorry, not for the customer, for the team working together, but it allows the team to find the right process and inspect it, adapt it based on the output and based on the inspection. A mechanism is a complete process. So on the right-hand side, we start by the output. There is tools that we use. We adapt these tools, we inspect the process, and we compile all the input that we have. And it's an ongoing process. It's not a static process that you put it once and never visit it, but you revisit it and inspect it all the time. So as part of the mechanisms, for example, that we have, not to count only on the goodwill and the good intention of the employee, the front-end employees in Amazon can remove a product information from Amazon catalog if they found that the product is faulty, for example, or they found from the data point that they gathered that there are so many customers that order this product and they have a complaint. This is now a problem. I am capable through the mechanism to remove this product from the catalog until we look and check what's going on. So that's the inspection and the adaptation to have a different output. Working backward is also a mechanism that consistently drive customer-centric innovation. We work backward from the customer. So every customer-facing product or service developed across Amazon uses this mechanism, working backward mechanism. We use the mechanism to make sure that we are building the right thing for the customer, that we are customer obsessed, that we are giving the customer what they need or what will help them to overcome their pain, their need, and also to be scalable and achieve a flying wheel or the growth flying wheel. The output of this mechanism, we call it PRFAQs, press release, frequently asked questions, and visuals where it explains how the process, how the mechanism, how the results of working backward mechanism looks like. To follow the working backward mechanism, we start by asking ourselves some questions. Who is the customer? I understand that in the Hackathon UAE, you will also work on projects and challenges. I suggest that you also consider asking these questions on the problem that you are trying to fix or the product or the services that you are trying to launch. Who's your customer? Be specific about this. It's not that my customer is entity X, for example. No, what does it mean? You need to dive in more details of that. So to dive in more details of the who's your customer, ask yourself and among the team, and let the team have this conversation and debate around it. Who's the customer? What insights and information do you know about this customer? What do you know about them? What's actually their pain? What is the problem that they have? Where is the opportunity? What is the solution that you are suggesting? And here, do not just come up with a solution without having a detailed, debatable answer on question 1 and 2, but also use the input in the question 1 and 2 to think about the solution, and do not go just try to implement the solution. You have to challenge the solution. Does it really address the customer pain? Is it the most important thing that you can, or the most important benefit that you can give to the customer? Can it be achieved through this solution? And then you need to describe the solution. So how would you describe the solution? And that's the press release. How do you describe the customer experience? Detailed, as if, assume that someone is reading the document about your solution or the solution that you are providing, and you are not in the room. You are not available online to answer any questions. The customer or the reader should be able to understand your solution and find answers that could pop up in their mind. And this is where we cover also the FAQs. How do we test this solution? And by testing the solution and going through all these questions, we can measure the success for the customer. Yes. How can we measure this success? There is a question. I'm not sure about the name of the person asking the question, but how do we balance bias for action and driving deep? I think you mean diving deep. When do we know the right time in the process of diving deep to take risk and take actions while decision making? Okay, so the dive deep is not a process, it's leadership principle. So there is a certain situation, if you found that the information that you have is not enough to make a qualified decision or to make a decision about a solution, about a recommendation, then you need to gather more data points. Sometimes we are, as a human being, can have self-prophecy that I found 2-3 data points, and through these 2-3 data points, I think that I find it. Oh, wow, that's the best thing that I can do, and I jump into actions. It is highly recommended that you challenge the data points. We don't want to be biased to our own opinion, so challenge these data points. As long as you are able to answer these 5 questions, you can get a good balance to which level you can dive deep. You will think, yeah, for example, you are having a deadline that you need to deliver your challenge or your problem. You cannot keep diving deep into details until the day before submitting your the solution for the challenge. You need to set this ahead of time, define what level of data, and by writing down this information and getting into a meeting online or physically face-to-face and reviewing these details, getting each other opinion, that help you to understand which level of detail that you dive deep into. I hope that answers your question, but if you have any follow-up to that point, please feel free to write in the chat. So these 5 questions are very important. Spend enough significant time into answering them. Start looking at these questions early enough into your challenge or your project in any activity that you are doing. And by putting more details, discussing with the team members about it, sharing feedback and challenging professionally each other, that will help you to go either into a next level, diving deep to gather more details, or to move on into the steps for providing the solution. This is what we produce as a result of the working backwards after answering these 5 questions and thinking about the solution. PR, press release. It's a narrative that we write details. So it's 1-page narrative describing what is the service, focusing on the customer. What is the features that are in this product or service that we are producing? Think about if this press release goes out in public, you put it on the website of of your company on the team, or you publish it. Will I understand what is the solution that you are offering if I read it offline and I have no background or details about your solution or your problem? Am I going to like it? Will there be any questions that come to my mind that I need? What will happen in the price here? What will happen if, for example, I use the service longer? Any type of question related to the product and services that you think that the customer would ask, you need, in this case, to think about an answer for it. And you add it, you make it clear on the press release, or you have it covered in the frequently asked question section. The visual on the right-hand side is basically describing how is the journey of the solution will take the customer from A to Z, from the beginning to the end. And that's something that will save you a lot. You don't start writing code and building a solution or building the product or the service unless you see these three, and with the visual, you have, the name is self-explanatory, actually, you have the full picture and how does it look like for what you are offering as a solution. In Amazon, after we produce the PR, FAQ, and the visuals, we gather all together in one room, face-to-face or online, and we do what we call it doc read. We review this, and we write feedback, and we share it with each other. And it's quite challenging one. Is we are not going there to be just nice to each other. We are professional, and our feedback is meant to help to improve and test the service or the idea for the service and the product that we are thinking of producing. So I wouldn't find, for example, that there is a gap or a glitch on what you are offering in the document, and I will say, oh, okay, just be nice. Don't comment. Maybe you will offend someone. It's not about this. It's more about I'm helping you by providing the feedback. And we add these questions. It could happen that this review between the employee and the manager, but we often call for what we call it document review, and we review these details. We share a feedback. The team or the person wrote the PR FAQ, they answer and clarify, and they take this feedback to improve and take the documents and the visuals and the FAQs to the next level as an improvement. We always try to raise the bar. Our next element of how we organize ourselves around the innovation is what we call it architecture. How the technology or the technical structure and the tools that can support this growth. So we came across, we have the culture, we have the mechanisms, we applied the mechanism. We came across a point that people are excited to solve a customer problem. So how the technology will help. So we focus also on the technology. Technology helps in multiple aspects, actually. Moving from the legacy architecture, we focus on decoupled architecture, a single purpose service. We keep the business logic onto hardened APIs. What this will help us with? It will help us to increase the speed. So increase the speed in the sense, if you design your architecture in the right way, then the solution, the technology that we are building, it's giving an agility and speed for the customer or the user that will use the application. So it will help me to try. It's a good platform for innovation. I wanted to go and use the service for a while, and I will decide later if it's suitable for me or not. Then by giving me an option and solution that allow me to have speed and agility, you also give me a platform for testing, for trial and error, for failing fast and failing forward. So with the technology, we help to accelerate the pace of innovation. So we are able to prototype quickly. I don't need to spend a lot of time to build or a solution. And AWS give us this option because the services are available. You can build a full technology stack by just clicking and choosing different features, different services and products online. You have them ready. You try your application, You try to see what is the outcome for your solution, and you decide that it's for me or something else I need to try it. So there is a low cost of failure. This is an important point. By providing such kind of platform, if your solution is allowing this agility, the speed, you also provide a low cost of failure. So I can try something else, and I can create prototypes. I can rapidly create another prototype or the same prototype with an additional feature. Third, we scale really quickly when something is working and we are confident that what we built is good. So using the technology as an element, it helps us to scale quickly. As our CEO, Andy, is saying, we like to say that there is no actually a compression for algorithm for experience. There is no algorithm that make you achieve a 10x faster without going through the experience. So the trial and error, the speed and the agility that we build and we focus on, it gives us this level of experience. Last element and the fourth element is the organization. And it meant I wanted to give you some details and insights about how we organize ourselves in Amazon. So we focus on, first, we hire builders and let them build. So Amazon doesn't hire builders and tell them or dictate what they do. They give us the flexibility. So we get really into the level of innovation. So we need to find the right people. And this is what Amazon do. They hire builders who like to invent, who wanted to build new features, new product, new services, who like to look different and find a different customer experience and assess what's wrong, innovate around how can we fix it, how can we solve it. We also have the concept is if you didn't have your lunch, I'm not talking about pizza for lunch, but we like the concept of two pizza team. And two pizza team, basically, it's a term that we use it in Amazon, where the number of team members should not be more than a number that you can feed them lunch with only two pizza. Of course, that change for the appetite that each one has, but with a controlled or a number of people in the team that is collaborating all together. There is a single-threaded owner that lead the activity as a team or as an individual. You are able also to speed up. You are able to ensure the synergy between the team. There is an ownership, so we can run what we have built. The single-threaded owner or single-threaded leader is a concept also that we have it where an individual or a team take the full ownership and responsibility of launching and building a product and or a service, and they communicate, they align with everyone needed to contribute to building this product and services. Okay, so we do accept failure. It's important as part when we speak about the innovation. I just mentioned the quote from our CEO about the experience algorithm. You cannot compress it. So to innovate, you have to understand that failure is something that we need to accept. As an example, we invent and we do accept if something didn't work, but we learn from it. And we take lessons learned and the outcome from this experience. So you need to embrace the failure. It is necessary. Innovation will not come out without, will not be achieved without the trial. And failure is one of these activities and cost. So we had our share of the failure, and let me share with you a couple of examples. So we launched the auctions. It failed, it didn't work twice. We launched it, that was in 1999. We did move it to Z Shop. Again, didn't make it out, but we didn't give up. we were focusing on what are the lessons learned. We had the customer in our focus. We are a customer obsessed, and the focus and the center of our attention for the auction and the Z shop was mainly the customer. We were aware what we wanted to offer to the customer that helped addressing a problem or a pain. So the failure was not because of we moved the customer out of our centric, but for multiple other reasons. So when things didn't work, we decided to, what are the lessons learned? Why it didn't work? What can we do differently? And we remained stubborn about the idea until we came with the marketplace. So now Amazon Marketplace is significant part of our retail business. So last year, over half of paid units were sold by third-party marketplace sellers on Amazon. So we continue to iterate through Amazon Marketplace, such as our fulfillment, for example, fulfillment by Amazon. And that's an example of how can we accept the failure. On the right-hand side, the Fire Phone. If you are not aware, Amazon had a trial and put effort to launch a mobile phone, smartphone. It didn't work out. Again, we accepted this failure, but we learned a lot from this experience. So we didn't give up again, but we decided that we will seize the product and we will work on launching a different line through the building the hardware. And at the beginning of these slides, in the top right side, there was the hardware where Alexa, Kindle, Echo was already there. So that's the lessons learned that came out of the Amazon Fire Phone, that it didn't really work, but we took this experience, we took the lessons learned, and we worked with partners, and we focused on the devices part. With that, we covered the 4 elements of how we organize ourselves for innovation: culture, mechanism, architecture, organization. We dive deep in each one of them. Our culture with the 16 leadership principles, how we adopt them, how we live them every day. The mechanism that we are using. It's not a fixed process that nobody touch it. Goodwill and good intention is not good enough to implement what you have in mind. Then you need to have a mechanism. And the mechanism that speaks to the innovation in Amazon is working backwards, where we have the customer in our focus and we work backward from the customer. We ask ourselves in every product and services 5 questions about the customer. Who's the customer? What are their pain? What are their challenge? What solution that we can offer? Why this solution? How the solution will work and will be success? And how it will help the customer. We spoke about the architecture to give an agility and speed and allow us to scale, and how we organize ourselves from the 2 pizza team and the single threaded owner. And finally, how we accept failure as part of the innovation journey. And with that, we cover quickly the part related to the Amazon culture of innovation. Thank you for your time. If you have a chance just to get your phone and snap into the QPR here and put your feedback. We just talked about giving a feedback and collecting feedback. It's important to know, what do you think? Where can we improve? How did it work? How this session work with you? Your feedback is valuable for us, and I appreciate if you spend 2 minutes to fill in the survey and submit it. With that, I will pause here and I will let you ask any questions if you wanted to clarify any point that was already covered. Thank you, Shadi. I enjoyed being with you here. I wish if there was a chance to meet and know every one of you, or even to have everyone cameras on, but that's the setup is that I have. So, but any comments, any questions you have? I think we do have time. It's up to It's up to you. I will be available to answer any question. Fahmi, if you have any question from your end, we are done with the presentation. Fahmi, I think you can stop the recording. We completed the presentation, and I will remain on the session for a few more minutes. If there is any question or anything that you guys wanted to discuss or talk about, I'm happy to address it.
Okay.